Howdy folks, this is Far Future Marstead talking to you from March of 2020. The episode I'm about to publish this week, episode 40, was originally recorded on September 20th of 2019, so there's a pretty big gap between that episode's recording and where I am in the playthrough right now. I kind of wanted to announce something big and then also make some finalizations to the Tin Man rule set and get a couple bits of feedback from you guys as to what I should do when it comes to very, very far future endgame content. So the exciting announcement is that I'm going to expand this playthrough beyond just the quest cape into at least the diary cape and possibly also the music cape. I remember one of my viewers, Akifal, actually joked during episode 1 during the live stream that I should do the music cape. It's like, yeah, we'll never do that. But I really, really like RuneScape. I like this game a lot. I would like to see all of the non-degenerate content at least once. And Music Cape is a really great pathway to doing that. So stay tuned for that. The playthrough will continue after the Quest Cape, and we'll find a way to get all of that onto YouTube over the course of the next 3 years. It takes me a really long time to edit these videos. So regarding Tin Man, most restricted YouTuber accounts like Swampletics and Jimmy, these are folks that are veterans at RuneScape. They've played it for a really long time. Before they make their restricted account, they can plan things out a little bit better than me. From my perspective, because I started playing RuneScape for the first time ever in August of last year, I kind of had to make up the rules as I went along, and now that I'm playing it here in March as I'm working toward the diary cape, I know way more about the game and would be way more qualified to establish clear parameters and restrictions than I was when I started the playthrough back in August. So I kind of wanted to go through the old Tin Man restrictions. You'll notice that the last Footnotes video I published on this was actually published around September 20th. So every single video you've watched up to this point was recorded before I had even tried to say what my Tin Man restrictions were. So I wanted to go through what the old rules were, what's changed, what's going to apply in the Diary Cape era, post-Quest Cape, and then I've got a couple rules that I wanted to run past y'all to see what your thoughts were. So here are the old rules. The basic philosophy is don't skip content. It's okay to buy on the GE, provided I pay things back. It's okay to sell stuff to the GE, and if other players drop items, as long as they don't let me skip content, it's okay for me to pick them up. So, like, if a player right now in episode 40 were to drop an Amulet of Glory, I should not pick that up because it's a really long grind in an Iron Man-like account in order to make one of those. But if they drop some cheap farming seeds, like strawberry seeds or something, it would be fine. So I follow these rules very closely throughout the Quest Cape playthrough, but at the end of the Quest Cape playthrough, when I start working on the Diary Cape, I strike a couple of these dropped items, for example. Starting towards the end of the Quest Cape playthrough, I just stopped picking up other players' dropped items. It's too muddy to me. I don't like the idea of me lucking out and having a player drop a bunch of dragon bones or something and me picking them up. So eventually I just completely stopped doing that. I also stopped buying items on the GE in order to repay back later. That actually slows down very much in the Quest Cape playthrough itself. There's one more major exception where I buy a pretty significant item early. I'll let you speculate as to what that item might be. But I will say that by the end of the playthrough, I clean up for all of these rule changes. So if players did drop items earlier in the playthrough, I make a database of all the ones that I picked up. I earn them back conventionally and sell them back to the GE. If I borrow any items, I do have that detailed spreadsheet. It uses a combination of OS Buddy and RuneLite Grand Exchange purchase data. I resell everything. I commit that will all be done by the time the Quest Cape is over. Every single item, no matter how complicated, even those stupid summer pies that I bought for no reason to do the Werewolf Agility course, even though that's a huge pain in the ass and it's like over 20 levels above the minimum for the Quest Cape, I will commit to making those summer pies traditionally and selling them back to the GE before earning the Quest Cape. Now, the new rules are a little bit simpler. The idea is don't skip content. We're like an Iron Man, except that it's okay to sell stuff to the GE. I still think that that's fine. I mean, gold is gold. There's not really... I guess there's different ways of getting content if you're an Iron Man, like alking drops when doing Slayer. But to me, gold is a less interesting thing to have access to through selling things to the GE. I think it actually just gives me more things to be excited about when I get drops. If I get, a duplicate of something that I already have that's worth a decent amount of money, or I get some extra seeds that I'm not really interested in planting. As an Iron Man, that's basically just garbage loot. It just goes in the bank and I never touch it. but in this playthrough I can actually get a little bit of money out of it and speed up the playthrough a little bit. So selling things on the GE is still fine. This is a new one, reclaiming lost items due to death. So today is March 16th. I believe there's new death mechanics rolling into RuneScape very soon. That might negate the need for this rule at all. And I don't want to spoil whether or how many times I've died in the playthrough as part of the Quest Cape playthrough or as part of the Diary Cape playthrough. From your perspective, as of episode 40, this account is still basically a hardcore account. It has not died. But I do want to plan ahead just in case if there's any major losses that occur, like if I had an item that I grinded for several hundred hours to get and then disconnected and lost it due to a death, I would want to be able to pay the gold tax, basically, and get that item back from the GE. That's completely reasonable and doesn't involve me skipping content. Group bossing is another thing, so I don't think you're going to see any group bossing at all during the Quest Cape playthrough. You know, it's kind of post-game content when you have much higher stats across the board. So if you're an actual Iron Man account, you cannot participate in most group bossing. There's a couple bosses that are designed for multiple players to participate, but for bosses like God Wars Dungeon and some of the Wilderness bosses, if another player touches the boss, you're disqualified for all loot. I think that for this account, it's completely fine to group boss. I feel like not group bossing is skipping content. So if I play with one or more other players, the rule is that if it drops something, that drop is fair game for everybody. We can trade it around and split it. Obviously, as the restricted account, I'm going to try to get my hands on any uniques that drop and then pay for my half of the unique in gold to the other player or players that I'm working on group bossing with. Also, I think as part of group bossing, trivial supplies can be shared. We consider that everyone's supplies are working together in order to earn the kill. So as long as I'm not getting supplies that I don't have access to, you know, as long as someone's not giving me like a divine super combat potion or something, it's completely fine for us to trade super attack, super defense, prayer potion, super restores, provided that I have the sufficient herb lore to make those items and obtain those items. So those are the new rules, the simplified rules. The potential rules that I wanted to run past you. Okay, so for these, I haven't deployed these yet as of March 16th, 2020, when I'm recording this video. I want to get folks' feedback on this first, so if you can leave a note in the comments or pop over to discord.marstead.com and jump in the OSRS channel. Let me know how you feel about these rules. Before I get into these, I do want to say that, like, I don't want my account to just be a bad Iron Man. I don't want to just be like, I'm following all the Iron Man rules, except I don't have a little icon next to my name. I do want to make it a little bit easier for the blind playthrough and for the Diary Cape and the music cape, potentially. So I want to allow myself more things, provided it doesn't violate that philosophy of don't skip content. So the first one is a little complicated. I have this idea that when you have equivalent exchange, when you have multiple items on a drop table that have the exact same drop chance, that if I get duplicate items of those, I should be able to freely trade them on the GE or with other players. So there's a couple examples I can give you. God pages, like Ancient Page 1, 2, 3, and 4, seem to be designed around you getting duplicates of the same page, selling them, and then getting the copies that you need in order to make the God books. Those all have the same drop rate. Barrow's gear, as long as you kill all the brothers, all Barrow's items have the same drop rate. You're equally likely to get, Gutham's spear as you are to get Darroch's helm. I think that if I were to get multiple copies of Barrow's gear, that I should be able to freely trade it for other pieces. There's a couple other bosses that have a drop table where there are multiple rare items that have roughly the same drop rate. Some of the God Wars Dungeons bosses, some of the minions even, their God Sword shards are kind of intended to be collected, sold, and traded for. So the thought here is that a normal Iron Man account, if you wanted to get all of the God books, you would have to do a bajillion clue scrolls in order to luck out and get exactly one copy of each of the pages. And a normal Iron Man account would have to do over 1,000 Barrows runs on average to get at least one piece of each unique piece of gear. I think that doing enough clue scrolls to get duplicates, or doing enough Barrows runs to get duplicates, or killing enough Grardor or Krill runs to get duplicates means that I've done the content, right? I'm not skipping the content. I don't want this to be a slippery slope. I don't want to be trading items that have a a similar drop rate. I don't want to say, hey, you know, I got 20 Vorkath heads, so that's roughly equal to me getting his 1 in 1,000 Dragonbone necklace drop, right? So I don't want to go completely nutso with this, but I do think that when things have an exactly equal drop rate, that it's probably fine for me to trade the duplicate ones for pieces that I haven't gotten yet. Let me know what you think about that. And then regarding super endgame content, I am very interested in attempting the Inferno and maybe capping off the playthrough by doing the Inferno. If you aren't aware, if you haven't played RuneScape recently, the Inferno is a much harder version of the Fight Caves. And it sounds really exciting, very difficult. Would be a great way to have episode 1 is I've never played this game before. The final episode is, you know, I defeat Zuck. That would be the bee's knees. There's also raid content like Chambers of Xeric, Theater of Blood, and possibly future upcoming raids. Now, the problem with all this content, it requires max stats, and I am more than willing to max stats. I think that that's an achievable goal, something that I can do as part of the Diary Cape playthrough. But it also requires very difficult to obtain endgame gear that's not really designed around a player farming for it themselves. Some of these individual pieces of gear, if I tried to go for a completely solo, would probably add like double the length of the playthrough. Like I would do the Quest Cape playthrough, I would do the Diary Cape playthrough, and I would do Music Cape playthrough, and then after that I would have to then do all of that time that I spent on the Diary Cape again just to get like 1 or 2 pieces of this gear. So my thought is I can borrow the gear to attempt this content, to attempt Inferno, Chambers of Xeric, and Theater of Blood. So I can save up the gold, buy it on the GE, run the content, and then when the content is complete, sell the gear back. And the rule would be that I can only use the gear for that content. Once I finish it, I have to sell it back. I can keep whatever rewards I get from the content itself, but not whatever gear that I bought from the GE. The thought on this one is that if I don't do this, I'm probably just not going to do Inferno, and I'm not going to do the raids because I won't have the gear to attempt it. So it's either some content or no content. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. I think it's pretty fair. That's all that I had for now. Like I said, I'm over 1,000 hours into this game. I won't give away exactly how far I am, but it's pretty far. I'm definitely coming from the point of view of really grokking old school RuneScape, so I think I'm in a better position to define my rules. Just let me know what you think on those 2 potential rules, and I will leave a pinned moderator comment below this video saying which way I went on those 2 items, the equivalent exchange rule and the super endgame content rule. Have a great week, and look forward to seeing you in episode 40 when I get it published, probably this weekend. Bye.